It's Dali.
And it's Jackie here.
We had a little bit of technical difficulties, so we're glad this is working now.
Per usual. We're learning. We'll get there.
Be patient, please. Anyway, today's episode, we're going to talk about competition.
Within ourselves, with others.
Yeah, being in competition. Why are we in competition with... Why do we feel like we need to be in competition with somebody?
Yeah.
With people.
And how to maybe overcome it, if so,
Yeah.
How to get that negative habit out of our existence, I guess. It's kind of hard because, why I feel that most men are more competitive than women in a lot of different ways and things, There's so many sports that guys play and so many things that guys always have to feel like the macho and the number one, you know what I'm saying? But for women, it might be a little more different.
Yeah.
But
I was saying too, I think that like for women the competition's a little different, just in the sense of we're not very in a noticeable way like how men are, but in little things women can be pretty competitive
in some shiesty ways.
Yeah, we're pretty.
I think it's more like body competition and the way we look,
our look,
superficial things.
Who can get the guys, who can do this, and which is part of the problem. Because why aren't we coming together? Why do we feel like we need to compete with each other?
Why is that a thing?
We should be coming together because when people come together, you create more. More comes out of that.
Why can't everybody win? Why can't that be a thing? It's always got to be one person's win, another's loss. But
right.
Come on.
But it's also like in our natural. I think I read Google somewhere something said like it's our natural way to be competitive, like it's our natural act.
Yeah. So
it's hard to like sit back and realize, oh shit, like I'm being competitive with this person. Why?
But I also feel that's something that's taught to you. That's learned behavior. Because if that's never what's always taught to us, if you think about it, we go to school. You have your number one person that's the smartest, or you have your competitions within school, so they make it a part of our lives to where it just is something that we're used to. It's a habit at this point, Mm-hmm. It's hard to get out of though. So like people who like compete as their life profession, or compete just on a daily basis just because that's what they do. Mm-hmm. That's what their career is about. It's a whole different thing, but in that sense they're still doing the same thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But in the same sense, it's kind of weird because people that compete, like let's say like a basketball team, for example, you're taught a lot of teamwork as well.
Yes, that's true.
So it's kind of like this weird...
It's like good and bad. It has its pros and its cons.
Yeah.
Like, it's
I feel like once you see that that's taking place, like you're competing with everything, like competing the way people are living, and you're comparing it to the way that you're living, the way that somebody else dresses compared to the way you're dressed. Like,
we'll always say this: everyone is different. Everyone has different lives.
Right, and like, why do you feel like you want to be like that person? Why can't you just?
Well,
and it stems deeper. I feel like into like self-esteem, into I don't know. Like, why do you feel like you need to be like someone else when you could just be yourself? No one else is gonna be you.
Yeah.
You're like, that's the most unique way to be.
Yeah.
Just yourself.
I just feel like you have to decide what's really important to you. And if competition and beating someone is the only thing that's really important to you, then there's something wrong about that. You know what I'm saying? So like, you know what I'm saying? I'm always saying that. There were some quotes that I had wrote down, and one of them was that if you compare yourself with others, you lose focus and it distracts you from the goals that you want to achieve in your life. So like you'll always be disappointed if you're comparing yourself to others. Like you said, just be you. Mm-hmm. I feel that's a number one thing that's important. There's no one like you. You can't be like anyone else because you're you.
Right.
So there's no point in trying to be, So if you compete with yourself, they say you always win.
But that's what I feel like too. Growing up, now that we're adults, I guess, when you look back on like how you were when you were growing up, you looked up to certain people.
Yes.
You looked up to your parents. Those are like the main people you were trying to be like, because those are your biggest influences. Then you look up to celebrities. You look up to all like your teachers, and you want to be like them when you grow up. You look at like if you want to be an astronaut when you grow up because you saw an astronaut and you're like, wow, that's really cool. I want to be like them. So that's why I say like it's kind of in our natural way to want to be like somebody.
I think that also like stems in with, you know, getting older and learning more, because I think when I was younger, I looked up to a lot of people. And when I got older, it was like I was disappointed because I'm like, damn.
These were not the people I thought they were.
They're human. Like, they make mistakes. They do things that you would never do, you know. So you either repeat the same thing or learn from that as well. You know, you can't... I think you shouldn't look up to anybody but the better you. But the better self. Right. That makes sense.
But that comes along with growth. Mm-hmm. Growing up and realizing, like, damn, I don't want to be like these people. The people that I thought I wanted to be like, come to find out I don't want to be like them
at all.
And then it bottoms down to, I just want to be like I just want to do whatever the fuck I want. That's me. Like, I just want to do whatever the fuck I want. I don't want to be like them. I don't want to be like, but I struggle with that at the same time.
Yeah. And
I don't know, maybe because at the same time you need to be taught a level of self-love.
Yeah.
In order, so you don't want to be like anybody else?
You have to have an understanding of certain things when it comes to that. Because you could be in competitions and be the most giving, the most kind, the person who's like an all-around team player. You know what I'm saying? You can have one of those and still be in competitions, but you have to know your boundaries, your lines, where it affects you, where it affects others, how it affects them, how it affects you. You know what I'm saying? You have to know those certain boundaries for yourself. Mm-hmm. And to be considerate for others, I guess.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah. I don't know, it's hard, though. When you're not being taught that.
Yeah,
When you're not being taught that awareness and that understanding, and you kind of have to just kind of wing it and figure it out. Especially in your 20s. Like, I'm 27, trying to figure out a lot of other shit.
I mean, shit, I've realized years ago that I shouldn't compare myself with other people or compete with other people, but it's such a habit. I still do it. And I'm 27 too, so it's like...
Exactly. Like, you realize
like,
it.
Damn.
Oh, I thought that was my water. It's the damn microphone. I was about to fuck all this shit up. Yeah, you realize it, and then you don't know how to, like, execute it, I guess. Like, you realize you shouldn't be in competition with anybody else, be your true, authentic self. But then you're executing it is a different story. I mean, it's like how we were saying the other day.
It's a daily thing, though.
Yeah. And even it's especially a daily thing, I feel like, because when you're at a low point in your life or, like, things aren't going your way, it's the easiest to compare yourself to others. And a lot of, like, not every day is going to be perfect.
Of course not.
And of course, when it's not perfect, you're gonna look at somebody that makes it seem like they have they're having a perfect day, or like their shit's going right, and it's gonna make you question your shit.
Yeah, of course.
So I feel like too, and I feel a lot of things because I just kept seeing that shit. I feel, but I feel like communication is a big thing. Like, if I communicate with you, like, yeah, I'm not perfect. Like, I'm going through this shit. It's easier for somebody to be like, yeah, I'm going through the same shit. Why would I compare myself to you? Like, we're both going through it.
Right.
You know?
And that also comes with, like, judging, too, because you can sit there and talk about somebody and say this and this and that to make yourself feel better about yourself and your situation that you're in. Mm-hmm. But you don't know what they're going through. And if anything, you're probably going through worse shit than them. You know, you just compare yourself to them and compete to see who has a bit better life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, all the Kardashian shows and things like that. I feel like that's all it is. And people, what do? Compare. Mm-hmm. I want that. Mm-hmm. I want that for myself. I want to do something like that. You know, I want to be famous. I want to be this and this and that. But you need to be thankful for what you have.
Have you seen that that documentary on, I think it's on Netflix, about minimalism?
No, I've been reading on that so much lately, and it's very interesting.
I feel like it ties into this because, like, the less that you have,
the more you appreciate.
Right. The more you see, you don't need the things that other people have to live a good life.
Or to be happy. Right. Yeah. Right. I think that I read something on it and what it meant to be minimalist, and I think it said that you're Xing out a lot of the stuff that's not necessary to be thankful for what you have, like you were just saying, but it also concentrates on more moments than materialistic things.
Right.
So you're creating memories that are everlasting instead of buying that gold watch that's not going to be.
Or you can
What's that saying? People don't remember you for what you say. They remember you for how you made them feel.
Mm-hmm.
So always, like, I feel like in any situation like that, you make people feel good, you know? I try to, like, that's one thing I try to do all the time. I try to be happy when people are successful. I try to be happy when people are excelling in their life.
Right.
I try to congratulate them, tell them I'm proud for them, you know? Because it's not a bad thing unless you're hating. Like, why would you sit there and be like, oh, she's got to do this and this and that?
Like, how frustrating is it when you work your ass off and people aren't, like...
People go out their way to knock that shit.
Yeah, like, that's fucking frustrating.
Yeah.
Like, if you wanted to go do the same thing, put the work in, do it. Like, why are you knocking me because I did my shit to get to where I want to be?
Right.
Or even something simple as, like, why are you knocking me because... This is just, like, an example, but... Like, why are you knocking me because I have curly hair and you want curly hair?
Right.
Or some shit. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's the most petty shit. Like, just go out and do whatever. I don't know. I don't even know if I'm making sense, but... No, it does make sense. That's my little rant of the day. Just go do the shit. If you want to get the shit done, go do the shit.
Right.
Stop knocking me for doing my shit.
I feel if you're concentrating on your life, imagine this. If everyone were to concentrate on their own lives and becoming a better... better them, if that even makes sense.
Yeah, instead of
concentrating on what the fuck you're doing in your life, maybe they would get somewhere in their life. Maybe they would feel better about themselves. Maybe they'd feel like they're accomplishing something, and then they wouldn't be comparing themselves to anybody, you know? It's like, it's so easy
but it's so hard at the same time.
But it's so hard at the same time.
Because then, too, you have to think about how you were saying earlier, the way that one is raised.
Right.
And knocking that, and when you don't realize that something's a problem... When you think it's okay to do it, nothing's going to happen.
Of course. And a lot of people, like I said, have these habits, and they've had these habits for their whole life. So they don't see a problem with it because it's a daily routine. It's just something they do all the time. And that's the issue.
I think, too, we live in a world, in a society that keeps us separated, finds every way to keep us separated, which in turn we're kind of competing to try to prove the other that we're the best.
But it's crazy because the way you say it like that is we're all separated into these different pieces. But it's like because we're ourselves, we're all these little pieces that make one whole. Exactly. And that's exactly how I see it. Like
right. But when people are brought together, that's a very powerful thing.
Yes.
And maybe this is like a conspiracy theory or something, but I feel like
Dali people are conspiracy theories.
I'm gonna have my own separate podcast. It's gonna be Dali's conspiracy theories, and it will never get old. There will always be something to talk about. Anyway, no, I feel like when people come together, we are a very strong force, and when we see that we don't need to be like anybody else or nothing is better than the other, that's a very powerful thing. So keeping us separated keeps us in order. No. And there's so many ways to separate us. There's politics, there's wealth, like status, there's religion, there's everything. There's so many things to keep us separated, and it keeps us in competition. Like look at like the example, elections. No, the Democrats. No, the Republicans. No, I'm better for this. I'm better for this. And they're trying to win to get to somewhere.
Even height, girl. That's so random. But like height, I've always been like, I wish I could be short like you. 5 foot. And it's like, embrace you being 5'5", 5'6", girl. Because there's women who are 6 foot. Probably thinking they want to be as short as you. You know what I'm saying?
And it's things you can't change. You can't change it, so you might as well embrace it.
I think so too. I've always had this mentality of like, which kind of helped me growing up. It was always like, so I wouldn't feel so bad about myself. It was like there's always going to be, I mean, this sounds bad, but there's always going to be someone who's better than you, but there's always going to be someone who isn't. Mm-hmm. So if you always think of stuff like that, you're not caring. You know what I'm saying? Some things are not as important as they were before. Yeah, there's someone better than you, but there's also someone worse than you. Mm-hmm. So you should be happy with where you're at, So like,
I think about that a lot when I'm like, if I'm struggling with money and stuff like that, I'm like, damn, but I have a place to lay my head.
I'm pretty blessed.
Right. I have a place to lay my head. I got food every day coming into my belly. Mm-hmm. There's people...
you're going to eat every day. Right. You have clothes. You have a home to go
I have a job. That's a big one. Like, I have a job, and I have we have decent jobs.
Yeah.
For, like, the pay, like, you know, it's not horrible.
Yeah.
And so, it's...
For as ungrateful as people are at that job, let me not get started.
And then I catch myself being ungrateful sometimes. I'm like, these cheap bastards.
Yeah. And you know how that's another thing. I'm trying to train myself to try to switch things up instead of focusing on the negatives, focus on the positives. So I'll say like, oh yeah, you know, this and this and this and this happened. But it's like, okay, shut up, be grateful. You made some money. You got some money in your pocket today.
Right.
You're walking out with a little bread and you still have your job. Tomorrow's another day.
Yeah, Madison, actually. Every time she would always say, I'm walking out more than I walked in with. So that's fine. And I'm like, that's such a real ass thing to say. Like, I'm walking out more than I walked in with, so I can't even complain right now. Or after everyone gives me something, or gives me a tip or something, I always say, thank you, I appreciate it. Even if it's not what I think I deserved, if I thought I deserved more than it, whatever, you didn't have to give me shit.
Right.
So thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you, I appreciate it. And I try to be grateful, like, even if it's not up to my standard of what I wanted.
Yeah.
Because,
I mean, and even for people who aren't servers, like, your week-to-week job, your bi-weekly job that's getting you paid, it's getting you paid.
Right.
There's people out here without shoes, without clothes, without food, without jobs. So it's like, you can't be mad. There's still people in other countries still living in the 17th, 15th century.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And we have the ability to go out and try to make something of ourselves, do something for ourselves. People just got to get up and stop being lazy about it. Just like with these habits, you got to stop being lazy about it, try to switch it around, make it a point, but first realize it. That's number one. First realize it, then change it. You know?
Yeah. So yeah, I forgot to mention this earlier, but the task of the week, if you haven't caught on by now, is to just be in competition with nobody. You are at the point to where y'all need to be right now in your lives, and so are we. Whether I believe it or not, I'm at the point I need to be in my life.
I guess there's a good you are perfectly you.
Yeah.
Don't ever think that just because you're lacking in something, you are beautiful in other ways as well. Don't ever think that your downfalls or the negative things about you make you ugly, because they don't. They will make you beautiful. They will make you you. Embrace it.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
That was real beautiful shit.
It just,
just came up with it. That was great.
So for our adulting 101 segments, we're going to talk about ways to help you overcome being in this pickle, just being in this spot where you're comparing yourself to others.
Yeah. Things you can do to not do it, bring yourself, draw back from it, and go back to being your true authentic self.
We have 7 tips, 7 ways to stop.
And the website, do you have the website?
Yes, we got this from Zen Habits Net. And these are steps to stop comparing yourself to others. Number 1 is awareness. To realize what's happening. To realize what you're thinking when you're thinking it. To be self-aware,
Yeah. And with that being said, it like online, it had said like it's a natural act to compare. So it can be hard to realize you're doing it. So the first step is to become conscious.
And that's the first step. If you're there, you're winning. You're almost there. That's one step. That's one step. Our step number 2 is to stop yourself. Once you realize and acknowledge the thought, but you change focus and you think of something else. In my case, I think of something positive, something that I know that will be better than what I'm thinking anyways, which is negative, you know? Number 3,
count your blessings. Yes. Like we were saying earlier, be grateful, be appreciative of everything you have. Try not to focus on what you don't have. Try to focus on what you do have.
Yes.
And
remember, you are lucky to be alive and you have people that love you. And that's a big thing in itself. And
if you feel like you don't have people that love you, at least love yourself.
Yes.
And that's all the love you need, right there.
Yes, for sure. 4.
Focus on your strengths. Celebrate what you have and what you... Oh, sorry. I read the wrong thing. I'm not prepared. Focus on your strengths. You celebrate what you're good at, versus like instead of focusing on your weaknesses.
Yes. Don't dwell on your weaknesses. Ask yourself what your strengths are and be proud and celebrate them. Mm-hmm. Be happy about it.
Kind of like the count your blessings kind of thing in a sense.
In a sense, yes. But you're more focusing, because we tend to focus on what we don't have. So focus on what's good about you and what you do have, and use that to your advantage. Yeah. You know, be proud, celebrate them, and use that to your own strength. Use that for your own benefit. You know, at the end of the day. Number 5 is be okay about being imperfect. Imperfection is what makes you you. You are never going to be perfect, but you will always, you can always strive to be the best you.
Yes.
And that's the only thing you can do, honestly. What's another thing? You got anything to add to that?
In the imperfection?
Yeah.
It's pretty much, I put there's beauty in the imperfect.
Yes. Beautifully broken.
Yeah.
So they say beautifully broken.
Yeah.
Which most of us are. Number 6 is a big one. Don't knock others. Do not knock others. People criticize others to feel better about themselves. It's destructive for you to critique others, and it's also destructive for them. Mm-hmm. Support others in their success, like I was saying earlier. Support people in their gains in life. You know, you want to be happy for others, just like you want people to be happy for you. When you get somewhere where you've always wanted to be, when you reach that goal, when you cross that finish line, whatever it is, you know, you want people to be happy for you. It's like one of the best feelings in the world. You know, people supporting you. That feels like supportive, you know, and you want to be that for everyone. Can you imagine if everyone was like that? I don't think anyone would be unhappy. Yeah. I think we'd all be like pushing on, you know, keep going, you got it, you know. But, you know, we don't live in a world like that. Right, in a perfect world.
In a perfect world.
But, you know.
Another thing to add to that is that everyone is on their own journey, and every journey that somebody is on is different. Mm-hmm. So just once you accept that, and once you find beauty in that, in a sense, to where you don't want to knock them down, like celebrate their journey, celebrate your journey, know that
it's a tough one.
That goes into the next one too.
Acknowledge that it's a tough journey.
Yeah.
But that,
like, life is hard enough. Why there's no reason to bring somebody down and make somebody's life even harder than what it is.
For sure.
Vice versa. Mm-hmm. And vice versa. The next one is like kind of the same. It ties in, it flows along in. No.
The last one?
The second to last. Because focus on the journey.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So
right.
We're on another... Yes. You said everything for focus on the journey pretty much right now. We're on
because it said journey in this one too.
Yeah, to become, to learn, and to create. That's good, though.
Yeah. So then the last one is to learn to love enough.
Okay, so 8 points. 8 points that we're trying to make.
Oh, no.
Okay, so
we're back. Is it going? Yeah, it's going.
Did we say anything? So we have 8 points we're trying to make, not 7, 8. So our last point is to learn to love yourself enough. To learn to love is enough. If you always want what others have, you will never be happy. You will never be content. It's an endless cycle. Mm-hmm. So until you learn to realize that what you have is enough, you know, you're always going to be unhappy. Most of us are blessed, like we were saying earlier. Most of us are super blessed. If you're listening to this podcast, you're blessed enough to hear a podcast, you know?
Yeah.
We're blessed enough to make one. But once you do that, you will find contentment in that alone. You will be content.
Yeah.
If you're just happy with what you have. Period. That's just it.
Period,
I guess that's right, period, point blank. I think that's the point we're trying to make. You're going to be happy if you don't concentrate on others. Concentrate on your own shit and being a better you, and that's it. Yeah. That's the point of it all.
Yeah.
You know? Short version.
I think that ties in. I want to go into my stop being childish, because I put, for my stop being childish, I want it to go to me for feeling like I'm not doing enough, because lately it's so easy to compare when you're trying to get to a goal and you see other people at this goal that they're at and you're not there yet. And I have to remind myself, like, that shit is childish. Like it said before, you're on your own journey. Just take it day by day. Do what you want to do. Right now I'm like juggling so much with like school, the podcast, working, trying to find a house, everything. And when I see people that are doing it, and I'm like, dang, I'm doing so much and I'm still not to where I want to be.
Like how is it so easy for them? And I'm sure the journey wasn't easy for them either.
They're just publicizing the end goal.
Right. And I think that's a lot of shit. That's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, that's daily, every day we see shit like that. Yeah. The outcome of a situation, not seeing the journey or the path that took to get there.
Right. Just seeing the end result. And then you're like, I want that end result. Like, where's my end result?
Nito, you got it, girl. You got it. It's coming. It's coming.
God. We'll see.
For my stop being childish, I just said that, I think that it's just stupid to compete with people and point out their downfalls to prove you're better than them. Like I said before, there's always someone who's better than you. There's always someone who's worse. Have a good attitude. Exert good vibes. Don't be petty or jealous because someone achieves greatness. Be happy for others. Do your best to try to be the best you. Again. Like I just said. For the 10th time.
Still beautiful.
So to end our segment off, we're going to talk about some sticky situations. I thought were pretty funny. Well, there was a Florida man recently. The Florida man. There's a lot of those.
God. We live in a crazy ass state, bro.
He got, he was imprisoned. He got locked up because he shot a black man who was unarmed and was not harming him in any way and tried to use the stand your ground law over here. And honestly, it was all over a damn parking spot. You know, people really piss me off because when you're racing for that, you know, you're already, you got your blinker on, you're ready to get in that spot, and that person goes zoop and just zooms in your thing. You're pissed, but I'm not pissed enough to shoot somebody,
bro.
And it's like, what's
pissed enough to go to jail, to go to prison? No,
right.
Fam, I'm good.
To go through this big ass trial.
There was probably another parking spot like right down the thing.
And I'm sure, who knows? Like, I'm sure he was a father, or if he was obviously he was a son. You know, maybe an uncle.
Right.
Maybe.
Well, you know, there's I know someone who had a family member that passed away because of a road rage incident.
Oh my goodness. You know what I'm saying? Let's see who can be faster on this road, you know?
Right.
You get in front of me and cut you off. Like, dude.
And road rage is real down here, I feel like.
The drivers down here are crazy as shit.
Yeah. Drivers down here suck. Use a blinker.
Right.
That's the fucking stop being childish for every episode ever to come.
Think
Use
about
a
others.
fucking blinker.
Be blessed you're here in your car, being able to drive and acknowledge
Bro,
that. And stop cutting
hate-
people the fuck off.
I hate when people don't use a blinker. Going from the right lane all the way to the left, you have no fucking...
And all they do is slow down. So, okay, I damn near want to crash into them. Like, you didn't put a fucking blinker on.
Right.
What the fuck is your problem? But I don't do that.
Which is a part of my road rage. Sometimes I'm like, bitch, hit me. I'll hit you. I got insurance. Bitch, bye. I get so mad, bro. Use a fucking blinker.
But you see what I'm saying?
It's not
like,
hard.
You're mad because someone took a parking spot that you wanted, or whatever the case is. They're not supposed to be parking there. It's handicapped, whatever. Why the fuck do you care?
Right.
Go on with your day. Go on another parking spot.
Right. You're going to ruin your whole day.
Well, like the other day, I had an incident like that too. Because I was in the restaurant and I was changing because I was actually going to eat with my family in a restaurant. And I'm in this big stall, right? You know, I'm in the big stall. That was the first one. I'm like, I got to change. I need some room. And this lady knocks on the door. And I see her little walker. And she knocks on the door. And I'm like, oh, somebody's in here. So this bitch, this lady, she decides to wait there for me to get out, right? So as soon as I open the door, she goes, this is just rude. You're so rude. That's for handicap. Mind you, there was no handicap sign on the door. There was nothing of none of that. And saying anywhere, these are for handicapped people. It's so rude that you're sitting there, that you're right there. And this is, you're being inconvenient and it's just rude. And I'm like, whoa. And then she had the nerve to tell me I didn't know this was a changing room. And I was like, ooh, you're getting a little snappy here. I wanted to say some slick shit to her. But right next to me was another big stall. Do you think she knocked on that one there to see if that one was open? No. She just bitched at me. So I went and opened the door and said, well, was this one open? And opened the door. And said, oh, yeah. And then she had the nerve to be like, oh, well, that one's not as big as this one. Bitch, it's the same size. You did all of that for what? You know what I'm saying? Like, it gets on my nerves when people do stuff like that. But like, if I would have known, like, no, because I'm not rude like that. I am considerate. I was only changing real quick. It legit was like 2 minutes, and she was just so upset, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just like, whoa. But you know, me having respect for abuelitas and grandmas and shit like that, I was just like, okay, well, you know, in the nicest way, I'm like, bitch, there's another stall right here that you could have fucking used, you know? But
I'm so dead.
girl, she annoyed me so bad.
I'm so dead.
Annoyed me so bad. Another sticky situation, let's stick on point. So we have people, you know, women are usually in competition for men sometimes too, right? But in this situation, I found online that a Saudi husband divorced his wife for kissing a horse. And I thought that was straight ridiculous. I was like, oh my God.
That dude really felt in competition with that horse.
For real. Like,
damn, the horse gonna take my bitch.
You got some better hair than me. Got a better
horse gonna really take my bitch. Fuck you.
You ain't take... You think you got a bigger dick than me? Oh, you do have a bigger dick. Wait a minute. Compare and contrast. Like, who gives a fuck? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Is your wife really, like, over here messing with the horse in the backyard? You know, like...
Or, like, is your wife gonna go marry the horse? Like, have an affair with the horse? It's not that serious.
Have some little calves.
Bro, if my husband wanted to divorce me because of that shit, I would have been like, okay, we are not meant to be together.
No,
forever stay out of my life, please.
That was just, like, so funny for me to find. I thought that was hilarious. But anyways, to wrap it all up, we just want to just to let you know that you guys are beautiful. We love you the way you are. We want to see you guys be the best you, as we want to be the best us, you know?
Be the best you, but... Is it going? Bro, if it's not going, I'm so fucking done. Oh. I'm so done with this thing. What's happening? We're gonna wrap it up. Like, this was a good episode. We don't even know if it's fucking recording.